Hi guys, this is Vidas.
And Usha.
Let's start episode 119 of Ask Vidas and Osha podcast. And this question was sent by Neil, and he writes, Hello Vidas, I've recently changed careers from working on IT to now a freelance organist pianist. My dream as an organ player is to be able to play to the best of my abilities, playing pieces from Bach to modern composers, but also learning to improvise. So, Osha, this is really interesting that an IT expert would want to switch careers to a freelance musician, right? Sometimes musicians become IT specialists, but rarely the other way around.
Yes, it's basically unbelievable.
But I guess if a person has a passion for it and even a calling, then it's really hard to refuse this, right?
Yes, although it's hard for me to believe that, meaning who will pay your bills. I think it's easier to pay your bills when you are an IT specialist than, freelance organist pianist.
Or maybe Neil is now a freelance IT specialist as well, doing part-time, work as a freelancer in IT area, in addition to organist pianist work.
I think in general, nowadays, it's probably the best to combine different things because I think you will hardly, to live well on doing only one job.
Or even if you do well 1 year, the next year your priest might change and situation might change entirely,
Yes,
right?
that's true.
With Protestant churches is a little bit more secure, I think, because the pastors get hired by the congregation and they don't change that often.
Yes, in general, I think the Protestant churches are more supportive of church musicians because we understand that people have to make a living somehow. And that's not as often the case in Catholic churches.
I wish I could understand anything about IT and programming and coding and software development because now, for example, Neil has a skill set that he can use in his free time, right?
Yes, sure. Yes, but it's excellent to know that he sort of, catches or follows his dream and is now a freelance organist pianist. I think that's wonderful.
And now he wants to be able to play Bach and other composers, even modern composers, right? And even learn to improvise. So that's a broad goal, right?
That's a very
hmm
broad goal, basically lifelong goal might be.
I think the best step number one would be to progress very, very slowly, setting realistic goals. What would you want to learn in a month, in 3 months, in 6 months from now, in 1 year, right, Osha?
Yes, but if he has a lot of free time, he can do it faster and easier probably. But of course, the first step would be to practice every day.
And pick the repertoire very wisely, right? Progressing from the easier to the more advanced one.
And since he wants to play organ and piano as well, so he has to practice on these both instruments every day.
hmm how much time do you think you should devote on piano versus organ?
Probably 2 hours on each,
hmm
so that's 4 hours a day. And in these hours, he also needs to include improvisation because he wants to improvise
Yeah.
too.
So generally, I believe his goal is relating to church playing, church service musician, right? Because he wants to be able to improvise as a freelance organist. So probably he seeks employment, I would suspect.
Could be.
So maybe him playing also would be well if that's the case.
Yes, of course.
But it's good that he wants to play also repertoire, right? Not only hymns, because he can progress much faster with the repertoire.
Definitely.
Whoever practices repertoire will have a very easy time of playing hymns, I think.
That's right. Because the repertoire in general is so much more sophisticated and complicated comparing to hymns.
I mean, there are sections in real organ compositions human-like, right? There are chordal-like textures,
Yes.
episodes, but they're short, right? Not long,
Yes.
maybe page or less, but not entire piece probably. And all kinds of textures are employed,
And polyphonic music, you know, is
right?
often a case in organ music, especially if, he says he wants, to play Bach.
Right. So I think he has to think about the repertoire. Do you think that it's wise to combine several styles of organ repertoire in his practice every day?
I think so.
Because he has to learn early technique and modern
That's
technique.
right.
At
And
least two,
and
right?
because he is now devoting, his time to become an organist pianist, so he has to play broad range of repertoire, variety of it,
How many
huge variety.
pieces optimally do you think he should focus on every day? Three, four, five?
Yes, basically I would say maybe 2 3 on the organ and 2 3 on the piano. So I don't know, 4 to 6.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
To play more at once, it would be too hard probably to.
It depends on how much time he and energy he can
Yes,
devote to each
and
instrument.
of course on how long the pieces are too.
So maybe he should focus on half an hour of repertoire and on the organ and half an hour of piano repertoire, right?
Yes,
So in half an hour you could play six pieces of 5 minutes of duration, right? Or three pieces of 10 minutes of durations, or two pieces of 15 minutes of duration, basically, right? Whatever
yes,
the case.
yes. And of course, he needs to work on planning because while playing on both instruments, you cannot just sit and play straight through for, let's say, 4 hours. He needs to divide his practice. So maybe do some in the morning, some no in the evening.
Yes, I think two practice sessions would be ideal for him.
One on the organ, one on the piano.
hmm Maybe if he has an access to the organ and piano at home, then he can uh, do two sets of practices in the morning and two sets of practices in the evening on each instrument for 1 hour each. But it's important to make frequent breaks, right?
Yes,
Why?
otherwise you can hurt yourself.
Especially if you're doing this like a professional, right?
Yes,
Excellent. So learning to improvise, of course, has to be included in that time. So maybe a little bit less of repertoire, maybe equal amount of time devoted to improvisation and repertoire, right?
yes, that's right.
What would be, let's say, three styles of organ repertoire he should focus on right now?
Well, probably Baroque,
Baroque
Bach, and his circle.
and earlier music if
Yes,
he
earlier
likes that.
music. Yes. Then of course the romantic music too is very important.
19th century.
Yes, 19th century German, French music.
Do you think that, let's say, early 20th century French music would still count as a romantic repertoire?
Well, yes, I would say French symphonic composers.
That's
Yes,
included.
Yes, yes.
And then the last one would be
And then of course the modern music.
probably from 1920s up to the present day, right?
Yes, that's right.
Excellent, excellent. And in improvisation, he should also switch styles early and modern if he likes,
Yes.
right? Wonderful, guys. I hope this conversation was helpful to you if you want to develop your career as a freelance pianist and organist. But don't neglect your current skill set, right? Because it might come handy in the future too.
Yes, that's true.
We live in a different world now. Thanks, guys. This was Vidas.
And Usha,
And remember, when you practice,
miracles happen.